Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Vargas.
And I'm John Stossel.
And this is 2020.
We've been ordering from America's favorite family restaurants, testing what they put on your plate.
Just because it's on the healthy portion of the menu, it may not be so healthy for you.
Our investigation uncovers the real meal deal. They're getting married, but they've made an odd choice.
We don't have sex.
And thousands of people report they're just not interested in men or women.
For me, sex was never a thing that made sense to do.
Is there anything wrong with abstinence forever? A famous doctor helping out in a dangerous place meets an enchanting boy who will change his career, his plans, and the girlfriend who wanted out.
There was just something magical that I knew would take place.
And I fell for it.
You think you know what happens? Just wait. Twist of fate. Look who's fighting back against hit-and-run thieves. Cashiers, fed up and risking their lives, wielding bats, golf clubs, sometimes guns.
Okay, I got him in the arm. Good, don't move.
Bad guys be warned.
He comes back, I beat him up again.
They've had enough. And now, Elizabeth Vargas.
Good evening and welcome to 2020. John Stossel is off tonight. And we're taking you out to dinner to some nationally acclaimed restaurant chains. There are some things you can't live without: food, water. Some people would add sex to that list, but not the group you'll meet now. They say sex is highly overrated. Although, how would they know? Some of them have never even had it. And that's the way they like it.
Jay, a Californian with plenty of girlfriends. But at 23, he's a virgin who says he doesn't want sex, ever.
I'm sure that life is really, really great when it's all about sex, but life is also really, really great when it's not about sex.
Keith Walker of Texas was married for 4 years, but says he had sex only a handful of times.
I really had no real interest or desire for sex. It was certainly nothing that I would ever think to do.
Winter, a New Yorker, is a college student and music lover. Has never had a boyfriend, never had sex.
It seems like a lot of effort for nothing.
Nancy Mulligan from Washington State is divorced, but says her 7-year marriage was never consummated.
We did other things. We watch out for each other. We were affectionate with each other. You care for each other.
Theirs is the kind of marriage Victoria Glancy and Carl Hodgetts are preparing for with their summer wedding.
I don't really see any difference between our relationship and other people's relationships, except, we don't have sex.
They're prepared to live happily but sexlessly ever after.
Are you sexually attracted to him? I mean, I don't look at him and think, oh, hey, baby, gotta get me some of that. Bring that on over here. I don't think that, no.
Who are these people? From all walks of life, they share one thing in common: not low libido, no libido. They call themselves asexual, and they proclaim that they are not attracted to men or women.
You've never been sexually attracted to anyone?
No, I've never experienced attraction. And actually, I realized I was asexual because when I was young, all of my friends started being attracted to people, and I had no idea what they were talking about.
It was the same way for Nancy, who felt isolated for years.
I thought I was the only one in the world. I had just kind of settled into the rut that I was different and decided to do the best I could with it.
But now asexuals are building a community through this website, asexuality.org. It features chat rooms, sells T-shirts, and boasts 6,000 plus members worldwide, including our group, who say they're sexless and they're proud.
We're told that you need sex to be happy. We're told that the rules are that if you have a relationship, sex has to fit into it this way. And it's kind of fun to break that rule.
David J. is the website's founder and a leader of what some call a new asexuality movement.
But some experts question whether asexuality even exists. Perhaps that's because there's been virtually no research done. Psychologists can't even agree on how to define it or what might cause it. Hormones, genetics, personal experiences. For now, asexuals are creating their own definition.
How is asexuality different than celibacy? It's not a choice. Celibacy is a choice, whereas asexuality is just the way that you are. Much like being gay is not a choice, or being straight, or being right-handed.
I think a really good metaphor was, it was like saying, if you have a chocolate cake, you know, you could say, I'm on a diet, so I'm not going to have the cake, or you could say, I don't want the cake, because I don't like chocolate cake.
But everybody loves chocolate cake.
You'd think.
In fact, does everyone like a chocolate cake? Some studies show that asexual behavior does exist in the animal world. But what about humans? Dr. Anthony Bogart of Brock University in Ontario, Canada, did one of the only studies of human asexuality. He found as much as 1% of the population may be asexual.
We interviewed a good number of asexuals, and they seem to suggest that their plumbing works, they just don't feel like using it.
They may still have physiological arousal experiences, vaginal lubrication, erections, but they may not be able to, or may not have any connection of that arousal to men, women, or both.
Living without that connection can be a challenge in a world fixated on sex.
What I mind is when the idea gets enforced that people need sex, that without sex, you're somehow broken. And of course we can be happy without sex.
Sex is a fabulous, enormously pleasurable aspect of life. And you're saying you don't miss it is like someone, in a sense, who's colorblind saying, I don't miss color. Of course you don't miss what you've never had.
Dr. Joy Davidson, a certified sex therapist, says that a litany of factors may be to blame.
There may be something physiological, endocrine, maybe something that has to do with trauma or abuse or repression or severe religiosity that has predisposed you to shutting down the possibility of being sexually engaged.
But our asexuals say they're perfectly happy as they are. They're used to people questioning their identity. They've questioned it themselves. For years, Victoria, who wasn't attracted to men, assumed she herself was a lesbian.
I have slept with a couple of women, and it was just sort of, oh, well, okay, we've done that now, so we don't have to ever do it again, right?
Victoria finally decided she's asexual, a label some experts find problematic.
Can labeling oneself asexual become a self-fulfilling prophecy?
You might as well label yourself not curious, unadventurous, narrow-minded, blind to possibilities. That's what happens when you label yourself as sexually neutered.
The thing about the asexual community is that we're not a place people come to stop exploring themselves. We don't want to slap a label on people and then have
say
that
you have
confine
to
them.
be this.
In fact, even the most vocal asexuals can have a change of heart. To their astonishment, Victoria and Carl discovered that their passions under the covers have been ignited. Here, Victoria tells our group for the first time.
We have been sort of fooling around, and we've got pretty close to sex, I think, in the last few weeks. Sometimes I think it would be nice to try it.
I just feel completely comfortable with Victoria. I don't think I've ever felt so comfortable with someone. And so I'm willing to, you know, try things.
But here you are, you're like one of the leaders of the asexuality movement, and you're thinking about having sex. Do you feel at all hypocritical that you might want to have sex?
I did at first, when we were first kind of fooling around, and I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to like this. But then, that's stupid. I mean, you just are who you are.
Victoria and Carl have not had sex yet, but they have removed themselves from the Asexuality website. For the remaining members, giving voice to asexuality is still a proud mission.
If I had a pill that I could give you and to make you sexual, would you want it?
Oh, I would not take a pill to become a sexual person. I'm having way too much fun as an asexual person.
I would not.